Real elevator ghost encounter. This is a real encounter with a ghost that my aunt had while I was visiting her over the summer around 2 years ago. It still haunts me to this day. Every summer I go to my aunt's place. She lives in a 22-story apartment. She's on the 16th, so of course there are elevators. Now, elevators themselves scare me because they might malfunction or something, but this event made me scared of them in a whole new way. I was at her home with Mom, watching TV and eating ice cream, when Auntie finally came home at around 11 p.m. from a late meeting for work. When she came inside, she was in a sweat. She was pale, breathing heavy, and looked like she'd seen a ghost. She did. Here's what she told us. When I got to the apartment lobby to get on the elevator, it was resting on our floor, so I assumed one of you, Mom and I, had just come back from a walk or something. We stayed home all evening. When the elevator came down and opened up, there was an old woman just standing inside, doing nothing. She was just standing, looking. No buttons were pressed. My aunt just assumed that she was just some old lady living in the complex who forgot how elevators work, so she greeted her politely and pressed button 16. When the doors closed, that's when I felt chills. But it was different. It was like the chills you get when someone just barely brushes against you. She knew something wasn't right. The old woman still was just standing there, pressing no buttons. My aunt didn't look back up at the old woman and just stayed on her phone while the elevator slowly rose to our floor. As soon as the doors opened, she darted to our door and ran in as if being chased, leaving the woman behind in the elevator. As the doors closed, she said she heard a soft rush of air, like an exhaling breath. Scared, but excited by the news of a possible ghost, I ran out to the elevator to see if I could see the ghost for myself. Lucky for me, the elevator was still resting on our floor, so I knew it hadn't moved. I pressed the button to open the elevator, and there was no one there. My first paranormal encounter. So I have never been able to figure out if what I experienced is just a weird dream or if I really had a paranormal experience. My grandparents live on this old dead-end road in the mountains of North Carolina. The road's about 5 miles long and basically just a trail through the woods with a few old houses built in the woods along it. This one house on the road has been sold probably a dozen times that I remember. And it's not the fact that it's sold so many times, it's the fact that it doesn't stay occupied for long. I can't tell you how many times I've seen families move in, and without fail they've moved out in a hurry within a month. Now, when I was about 14, me and my friends got very curious about if it was haunted or just scary, so we decided to break in and spend the night inside the house one night. Around 10 o'clock, we piled our sleeping bags and some food and soda onto a few four-wheelers and drove over there. When we arrived, we looked through the downstairs area with our flashlights and explored the downstairs and porches, not daring to go into the basement or upstairs BC Scary. We then played cards and ate snacks and vaped like teenage idiots until we decided to go to sleep. You know, normal sleepover stuff, and everything was normal until I was asleep. In my dream, I was in the living room and it was dimly lit. But what was weird was a dark figure was sitting across the room from me smoking a cigarette. Just seeing him there smoking silently freaked me out. Then he spoke. "What are you boys doing in my house?" he said. "We're just seeing what makes it so scary, sir," I told him. "I'm what makes it scary," he said, and stood up and I saw you face. He was an old man with a mean, stern look on his face, like the kind of man who would kick your ass for stepping on his grass. I then started to feel like I was choking in a dream, like it felt so real. And then I woke up in a sweat. The following morning, me and my friends explored the rest of the house, and in the basement I found a picture of the exact man in my dream. I then freaked out and TBH stole the picture from the house to show my grandmother. She then pointed out that the man lived there when she was a little girl. She's 87 now. And that he died in a bed fire caused by falling asleep while smoking. I have never been back there since. The house is still constantly being sold, but I woke up at 4 a.m. to go to work. I got up, got ready, as I do every day. It's still dark outside, and where I live, it's almost pitch black, as there is almost no lights when going out. I grab my lunch, my bag, my keys, and I exit the door. As soon as I get out the front door, I lock it, take a look around, and see that my neighbor's light in the front is on a... I'm looking at it, making my way to my car, I hear the whisper of a lady in the distance. She's saying my name. I opened my eyes in horror. I get chills, the hair in my neck stand up. Seconds later, I hear the whisper again. I start to panic. I rush car, turn it on, and get out and drive to work. I haven't heard anything since, and my neighbors don't know my name, and it's too early for them to be up, so what was calling out to me at this hour?